You're listening to the Not Just Numbers podcast, a conversation with mathematicians on their work and their lives to get to know them and discuss common biases and misconceptions. Hi everybody and welcome to the new episode of It's Not Just Numbers. This time, for a change, we have invited some of our students to talk about their experience as students, how it fit with their expectations, and to hear how is it going. So sitting next to me, there is always Marit.
Hello.
And on this other side of the table, there is Naná Giadresco and Anna de Bruijn.
Precisely.
Hello.
So thank you very much for accepting to be here. I know how hard and stressful can be to hear your voice and also to be just recording something that is out in the wild and you never know who is listening. So we appreciate this very much. And as usual, we would like to start the podcast by getting to know a bit who you are and what you're doing and why you're doing it. So I guess, Anna, would you like to start?
Yes, first of all, thanks for inviting me. I'm Anna de Bruijn. I'm a second year master student in Groningen, good friend of Marit, and enjoying my time here. What else is there to know?
What kind of mathematics are you into?
Yes, of course.
What do you like?
I'm currently doing the track Algebra and Number Theory, so the very abstract math. It's what I'm into. Next year I'll be starting my master's thesis. Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. What is your thesis going to be about?
It's very interesting. Actually, luckily, it's an internship at TNO. It's an institute where, it's very unique in the sense that it's partly academic and partly into companies. So they're partly working for the government, partly working for companies, and there's a part where they're just gathering up all the information that they can use later on. Yeah. So that's a very nice one to do.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Nana, what about you?
I'm Naná Giadresco, and I'm in my fourth year of my bachelor. I'm finishing now. It's a bit chaotic. I'm doing my thesis and I'm doing other courses at the same time. So what I do is, I guess I'm interested in the same stuff you are interested in, Anna. But I really like algebra and number theory. And my thesis is a little bit about that now. Next year, hopefully I start a master's. And I also want to go a bit that direction as well.
Nice.
So I guess, similar to you then.
Wow, that's very interesting. Now I am surrounded by people doing algebra and number theory.
It's not too diverse all of a sudden.
But let's take a step back. So we usually ask our guests to ask the kind of mathematics they are doing or they will be doing, say, in their thesis, as if they would explain it to kids, to somebody that knows nothing about the type of mathematics you do at university. So can I challenge you to say, what are you going to do with TNO and number theory and algebra in a way that is humanly understandable?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess it comes down to computers. And in computers, you sometimes have to transfer money. Your parents have to transfer money. They have their money in their computer. Of course, you don't want any bad guys to access this money and spend it on, I don't know, bad stuff. And so in order to secure this money, you need some codes. And these codes require methods that are not easily breakable. You don't want anyone outside to break these codes. And this is a part of what I will be working on, because in the future there might be even stronger computers that might be able to break these codes, called quantum computers. This is kind of what it's about.
Wow.
Very cool.
Thanks. Nana, what do you work on or plan to?
What my thesis is about right now, it's actually solving a fruit puzzle. I don't know if you have guys seen if you have add bananas plus this plus that, 99% of people can solve that. And then it's it looks like a very simple problem. And then you can translate it into some more complicated math. And it's really cool. At the end, I think I feel it's a bit like just playing around with stuff. It has a bit of geometry, so shapes and curves. And then it has a bit of number theory, which to me feels more like playing a game. Like you just play around with numbers and like see if this works or that works. So I think it's very playful. It doesn't feel like serious math in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, it is. You can also use this in other stuff, but yeah, for me, it feels more like a game more than anything. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I recognize the fruit puzzle that you
Yeah.
mentioned. Yeah. It's a very nice problem. Yeah. I'm also wondering, we're all students here except for Marcello. So can you guys maybe tell me why you guys decided to study mathematics? Did you know it from a fairly early age, or was it like the last year of high school that you're like, oh, wait, mathematics is actually pretty nice? Nana, could you maybe tell me a little bit?
I think for me, it's a bit mixed. When I was a kid, I always liked math and I liked sciences and stuff, but I also really liked other stuff. Like it wasn't the main thing I wanted. I remember when I was a kid, I think I wanted to be a physicist, but I didn't really know what a physicist means. You know, I think I just liked the idea of it. And then I wanted to be a circus artist, so it sort of went a different way. And then, then I started liking, I liked math. And then I started liking a lot again when I was like 13, 14. But then I went to high school and I was doing a lot of art as well. And I was also thinking to go into art school, or then my original plan was actually to just get a driver's license and get a van and like travel around the world. And then my teachers kind of pushed me like, why don't you apply to uni and then just see, maybe you get in, maybe you do, you know, maybe why not just try? And then it just sort of happened. I just applied and then I was like, well, might as well go. And actually I like this. And it just sort of happened. It wasn't really planned I just liked it and I was like, okay, let me try.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
That's such a funny story. So you mentioned that you were like, oh, I'll just apply. And did you only apply to mathematics, or maybe to mathematics and physics, or other types of studies?
No, I only applied to math. I was kind of forced to apply in the UK as well. I didn't really want to. I think I got in. I just picked the first 5 that popped up, I think. And then I applied here in Amsterdam, I think. And I got into both. But then I wanted to go here more. So yeah, I just came here. But yeah, I was going straight for math. Like I didn't... Actually, no, that's a lie. I thought, I think I wanted to apply for philosophy in math. There was like a double degree or something in the UK. But then, I can't remember why, but then there was something I didn't like. So in the end, it was just math.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Anna, do you have a similar experience that you plan to do something whole differently and then still ended up studying mathematics?
Yes, how did you guess? Do you know me? Yes, I did actually. I'm interested in all types of things. So this choice was not very easy for me. And I guess in the beginning I had this ambition to go to the conservatory for violin, because I played violin very much. And then at some point this didn't work out. I mean, there's a bit of luck involved as well. And I was interested in so many things that I wanted to pick the broadest thing from which I could very nicely switch to other things and have a very broad understanding of everything. I thought maybe the most general thing, I should pick the most general thing, which is mathematics in my opinion. So that's how I came here. Yeah.
Oh, also funny. Yeah. Nice to see the similarities that you kind of got here in a, well, not very straightforward way. Yeah.
Can I ask you something related to this? So it somehow happened to be mathematics in one case is because it happened, and in one because it was the most general thing. But has there been some reason that somehow for you mathematics was on the list? Something in particular that sparked your interest, or it just happened with time?
I see Anna is nodding yes very enthusiastically.
Yes, I'm nodding. So. In my time, in my generation, I guess YouTube is a thing, and so channels like Numberphile, 3 Blue, 1 Brown, these were a huge influence because I didn't like high school mathematics very much. It was just a lot of arithmetic, and I didn't enjoy that. But I knew that there was a world behind in which mathematics was much more interesting. So I hope that the mathematics in uni would kind of resemble the math that I had seen on YouTube.
Yeah, for me, I actually didn't really know about that side of math at all. But it was just fun. Like for me, it was just like, I just like the feeling of just sitting down and then getting in the zone and solving a problem or whatever you're doing. And then like you're in your own world sort of thing. And it's just, yeah, it just felt like, just a lot of fun of my own little thing. And I just liked it. I think that was like the feeling of it was nice.
Nice, thanks a lot.
Yeah, so to maybe get back to what Anna mentioned, that you very clearly knew that there was a distinction between high school mathematics and mathematics at university. Did that meet your expectations, or was it?
Good question. Kind of. I mean, of course, I knew that on YouTube, the most exciting things out of math, the most contextualized things were picked out and presented. Of course, you don't present a 2-hour-long calculus lecture on methods to solve differential equations, for instance. So in that sense, it's of course, I guess, more boring, but also very useful to attend these lectures. Yeah, so kind of. I think it met my expectations very well.
Okay, yeah, nice to hear.
Was it the same for you?
No, for me it was a bit different because I didn't really know that side of math. I just knew mostly calculus, which was what was taught to me in high school. And I liked that because it was just kind of easy to do. Like, I don't know, it was a lot of computations and stuff. And I sort of thought that that was the math that was done in university for some reason. And then I came here and I realized that's not the case. And I realized, wait, but I like this new thing a lot more than the high school one. So it was unexpected, but it just turned out to be fine because that's actually what I liked.
Yeah.
Except there was one thing in my, like, I think one of the last days of my high school, my teacher showed me how to do the, like, I think she explained to me, like, the proof of, like, y squared of 2 is irrational. And that just looked like, oh, this is cool. And I think I saw it again then later, like in uni somewhere, and I was like, I like this. Yeah.
Yeah. So positively not meeting your expectations.
Yeah,
then.
exactly.
Yes, just the concept of complete beauty and rigor that some proofs can have, like infinite number of primes in the integers. It's fascinating.
Yeah, what you guys are saying, I really recognize that with myself, with making the same study choice as you guys have recently. So it's fun to hear. So in other episodes, we have two professors as our guests, and we ask them often, what are some challenges that you have faced throughout your academic career? And while I do note that their academic career is significantly longer than yours at the moment, yes. I am wondering whether there were any points that it was hard or difficult or challenges that you had to overcome.
I mean, I think there's a difference between, for me, personal like stuff that then also affects like academic stuff, or stuff that is like purely academic. Mm-hmm. Because I say purely academic, the thing that I think is harder to deal with is like frustration of doing something and it not working, and then you really have to have the patience to try again. And also just not expecting the thing to work on the first try. And sometimes that just really drives me crazy of just like trying again and again and again, it doesn't work. So I would say that's the hardest thing. But then also at the same time, I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is being far away from my family. And then obviously that influences, because sometimes it's just some days that it's a bit harder to go to uni because you're like, I just miss, home and my family and stuff. So then I feel like that also influences my state of mind of doing math and everything. Yeah. So it's
of course those are related.
Yeah. What about you?
So I was born in Groningen, so I can't say my family was far away, but I do recognize that there's so much outside of your studies, friends, family. There's real life events happening outside of your studies that affect your studying. So those were challenges for sure, without going into them too much. Being confronted with your flaws in trying to solve problems. And sorry for mentioning this again, people. Corona, the pandemic, it was very, very hard. Yeah, not having as much contact as you would like in such hard study as mathematics, where you need a lot of help sometimes to solve the problems. You can't do it on your own sometimes, or it will take you much too long.
Yeah. I was also thinking that point was also the hardest part for my very short academic career. Well, like during my mathematics studies, because as you said, like you're on your own, you can't really discuss with other students
Yes.
or see that they're also struggling with a problem. For me, that was really significant, that it felt like, oh, I don't understand this, and I'm the only one not understanding this.
Indeed.
Because all the other people, well, they're just following the course. And just seeing other people struggle and being able to work together to find a solution, that is something that Corona took away from mathematics students. And I do agree that that was a big challenge
Yes.
at that time.
I started in my year was the Corona year.
Oh,
So the first thing I saw was like just online lectures. And yeah, that was quite hard because I had no idea what was going on. Like I also didn't really know how to study either. And not being able to attend stuff in person at tutorials, which just, I think also that's the reason I'm taking 4 years. It's my first year. I feel like it didn't count. Also, I barely remember stuff from like the lectures given. Yeah.
I have a curiosity here because my impression is that after we came out of the pandemic and we restarted having lectures in person, we still have an issue of students not showing up, or even worse, students not talking to each other. Like in the tutorial, it's basically a silent room instead of being an actual shared experience. And so I'm curious if this is just an impression that I got and that some of our colleagues got, and if you have some suggestion on how you actually overcame these struggles, not the personal one, but the ones where you have to deal with your frustration and you have to learn to work together and discuss things together. And that actually I'm opening this question to all three of you.
Can I tell how we met?
Yeah.
Which is basically, we were already studying in the same year, but Marit is a bit older than me. Sorry, Marit. So I wasn't sure if she was approachable in that sense. And then the pandemic hit and we had courses, pretty hard courses, I would say.
Yeah.
And then I guess we bonded over the fact that it was so hard and there was not that many people doing the same thing. We were both taking more courses than we should have, in those circumstances. And then working together over WhatsApp, over Zoom, in online classes was probably the best thing. So bonding over Zoom or video calls.
And then one of the advantages, I would say, to Zoom as opposed to real life classroom is that in Zoom you see the same names. So I knew that Anna was following all the courses that I was following because I saw her name pop up all the time. And that she was asking questions and like that she seemed nice based
Lots
off
of questions.
that. But I think that like in the real classroom, like you don't know a person. Like at least I knew her name. So then if you don't know anybody, that already makes the barrier way higher to approach somebody and say, hey, Anna, I see you're also taking this course. Would you like to work together? So that might be a reason, I don't know, that the barrier is just higher in real life because I just sent Anna a text. And if she were like, no, Marit, I don't want to work with you, then I would be like, oh, okay, but not too heartbroken. But if somebody is like rejective towards you in person, that's I think that has a way harder impact. So
It's harder.
maybe people are just protective of themselves in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm guessing because like what Anna said, like I made friends during the Corona pandemic and then I had people to work together with during classes. And I also believe that in our year, people were working together.
Yes, our
most of
year
the
was
time.
quite social. Yeah, so it also depends on the year. I mean, maybe you should speak up because your year started in Corona.
But I was lucky enough that I met my mentor group, and then so I became friends with one girl in my mentor group, and then I was living in a student house, and there were like another, I think, 2 or 3 people doing math.
Oh,
So, but then we started meeting up and sort of studying together, and then that kind of just stayed also in the second year, and I had like 2 people to study with.
yeah.
And I think studying together with people is what helps me the most to do anything, really, like especially what you said about dealing with frustration. Sometimes just, telling your frustration to your friend and be like, I don't understand this, what is going on? And I mean, sometimes they can also point out that maybe it's just a very dumb mistake that you're not seeing because you're too into it. And other times just letting it out to someone else that understands what you're doing already sort of solves the problem like halfway.
Yeah.
But yeah, also what you said, Marcello, is like I think I'm both students, the one that participates in stuff and the one that doesn't participate in stuff, because I think I'm a bit shy. So for tutorials, for example, I mean, I'm kind of ashamed to say this, but if my friends are not there, I might not show up. And I have some tutorials that feel very, you know, like, oh, I'm just hanging out with my friends, and then I love going there, and then we just have a great time. And others where I work alone and maybe I don't know the people there, and then I'm a bit just shy, and I'd rather than just work by myself.
But at least you have your study group, which I think it's already something that makes a difference. Even just for the fact that you are not just asking each other, but what you said, sharing the frustration, I think already shows that other people have frustrations as well. And so you're not alone in that, I would say. At least this was my experience decades ago.
Yeah. Same still now for me, at least.
Yeah, so that's probably a general tip for new students. Make friends that you can study with. Go to tutorials together. It's way more fun.
Yeah.
And it seems to survive along generations as a suggestion. So
yeah.
And also, I think that's one of my favorite things about math is being able to talk about it. Like with your friends, of just going out one night and just sitting down. And then, like, I have a group of friends and sometimes we talk a lot about math. And it's like, we just go out and there's one non-math person that is just like, oh, God, you know, I can't deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
And I love that. It's so much fun. You just like, you know, sitting somewhere and just, you know, talking about stuff. And you learn so much that way as well. Yeah. You don't think you do, but then you discuss so many things. And then one day in a different lecture, you're like, oh, wait, I heard my friend talk about this one day, you know? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. It's a really great addition to your studies, I think, because as you said, you learn way more doing mathematics together than just by yourself.
I think it also gives you a feeling of belonging, right? You're not there alone, but you are part of something.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel that's something that is also motivating at some point.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So, Marcello, do you have like a theory why now what you're seeing in tutorials that people are more like only working by themselves?
Not really. First of all, I don't have real data. I just have the impression that I, but also other colleagues have had in the last 2-3 years.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe it's just a biased view on things.
Yeah.
So this could be the case. But definitely the number of people in class is lower than what used to be. So that's kind of a fact.
Yeah.
I don't have a good explanation. In some cases, I knew that students like to watch the recordings because they could change the speed and go slower in some part and faster in other, which makes sense. But then you lose the opportunity of asking questions, which I think, as much as not many people are asking questions, but sometimes if somebody is asking something, it's because most of the people have the same question in their mind. So you have the benefit of either benefiting from somebody asking the question and then jumping in on it if you still don't understand, or having the chance yourself to clarify things.
As a person who asked a lot of questions during online lectures, I think you were one of the lecturers who noticed questions most. In some cases, they didn't notice that there was a question. So the whole effect of having questions at that moment was just gone.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I just tried, but yeah, felt very ineffective at times.
But this is something specific to the online setting, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Because I think when you are there in person, then this problem goes away. Because somehow, first of all, if you speak up, I assume I would hear. And if I don't see the hand raised, you can start jumping, or somebody else can start pointing. So
That's
it happens.
true.
It happens to me, but it's more dynamic, I would say.
Yeah.
But still, the issue is, I actually had more people in class during the pandemic online than I have in class now.
Wow. Oh, that's horrible, by the way.
Yeah, no, don't tell me. I mean, it makes it's so much nicer when you have a full class and engaged class where you can do things together instead of just yourself.
I mean, for me, I also think I like a lot more small lectures than big lectures. So as a student, I prefer when there's less people, because it feels like I'm way more comfortable than when it's like a huge lecture, or like those lectures that are slanted and you can see all the people, you know. So I think sometimes as a student, I like more like the smaller the lecture, the better it is for me.
But then the more you go on in your study, the smaller the class becomes.
That's
so somehow
also true.
You slowly get there naturally, I would say.
Yeah.
Can I do a step back, actually? We asked if doing mathematics met your expectation, but since we are interviewing students, I would like to ask you, Marit, if
Yes.
it did meet your expectations.
Yes, it did. Also because I already had experience studying, so I kind of knew what studying was like. So for Nana, I already studied chemistry before I started mathematics. So it did meet my expectations. I thought that it was very challenging, like very asking you to analyze problems, to think outside of the box, to use theorems, to prove new things, to figure out new ideas. So in that way, it really matched my expectations. Yes. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Now I think we are about time to move to the next part of the episode. But before then, I would like to ask you also something non-mathematical. So we've spoken a lot about your experience with mathematics, and I guess we will get back a lot more about that in the next half of the episode. But so what is it that you do or enjoy doing outside mathematics? Like Anna, you said you're basically interested in everything when we started the
Yes.
episode. So I'm curious, can you summarize what you like to do outside
No.
mathematics?
No, not exactly. I mean, it changes very often because time is limited and I want to do so many things. Of course, playing the violin, but currently, together with Marit and some very lovely people, we are pub quizzing with Paarse Kip. By the way, there's some other staff and students, PhD students on campus and students. We're also pub quizzing here, so shout out to Here for Beer and the Five Lemma. And other than that, jogging, painting. Yeah, no, too much to mention, actually.
For me, I like painting. I used to paint a lot, then I sort of lost it, and now I'm back into not painting but drawing. I like reading a lot as well. I started making a habit because I never really find time, so I started having breakfast, like reading while I have breakfast, and then I realized that way I read every day. I just finished my book this morning, actually. And then, yeah, I started going to the gym this year, which sometimes is a bit boring because it's always the same thing, so I'm not sure. I'm not 100% sure I still like it. And then spending time with friends. Like, I love doing that whenever I have time and just going. I mean, if the weather's nice, going to the park, which is not that likely, unfortunately. But yeah, just doing whatever with my friends. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you very much.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Because we're going back to the whole Corona time. I'm sorry for this.
That's okay.
From the viewpoint of a lecturer or professor, it must be weird talking to the camera like that, as in not having anyone in front of you to talk to.
So I appreciated that in the master course, the student actually, some of them turned on the webcams,
Yes.
so I could see some faces. In the bachelor courses, I was talking to a black screen, and our son had made, he used a toilet paper roll, plugged some ice on it, and made a small face on that.
Cute.
I don't remember if he did it at home at the daycare or why. But anyway, he came back and gave this to me, so I was actually teaching to this toilet paper roll.
Wow.
And it made me feel less alone.
Wilson all over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I was at home, so at least I wasn't alone for real. I was alone only when teaching. Yeah, it was a big learning experience. I mean, understanding how to move the lectures online, understanding what tools to use to be able to actually still deliver some of what you wanted to deliver to the students.
Yes.
What tools to use to actually try to engage the class and get some interaction, which was much harder at the point. So we played with Gather Town, we played with the chat, we played with...
Yeah.
At some point, it felt like we were just trying things out because we have no clue what we were doing, and it was kind of that. So it was very interesting from that point of view, but it was hard in the sense that it felt much lonelier than it usually was.
Also must be hard to see whether people are like paying attention and understanding the material, I think.
Engaged.
Because
yes.
in real life, if people are at your lectures, you see them making eye contact or making notes, or maybe they have like a puzzled face, and then you're like, oh, I probably am not explaining this clearly enough. Yeah.
Understanding if they were following, that was hard. And the nice thing is that over the pandemic, I had 2 nice classes where there were people asking, but there were always the same 2-3 people asking questions. Yes, including one in the room. But it was good because it gave me an idea of how it was going, if I had to slow down, if things were unclear, if something in the setup of the lecture had to be changed. So it was crucial to have those questions to get an idea of what was going on, because indeed you have no clue if people are still listening, if they are actually there, if you are catching their attention or not, if you should have given more or less details. You just have no clue, while in class you have at least some non-verbal feedback from the students. So yeah, that was a massive challenge.
Yeah. Interesting question, Anna.
Yes,
Thanks.
it was very clear to me that, of course, for the students it's less than ideal, but also for the teaching stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a struggle on both sides.
Of course, yes.
I was surprised actually that in such a short time we managed to settle on something
In
that was kind
hindsight,
of working.
Yes. Yes, it is impressive.
Yeah, at least well enough. Yeah. So normally our episodes are really divided into a first part, getting to know the people, and then a second part, which is then the topic. But I feel like right now these two really overlap because we already talked extensively about studying mathematics and like also about who you guys are as a person. So maybe it might be nice to just like keep the conversation going, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. I actually would like to go back to the expectations and ask you the opposite. So what did not match your expectations? Nana, would you like to start?
I think, I expected it to be a lot easier, and the pace to be slower. I expected it to be like harder and faster than high school, but not that fast. And I think it was one of the first lectures of like calculus 1 or something like that. And then I realized, they did in one lecture the stuff we did in like 5 months in my high school, right? So I think that was the thing. I think I was expecting it to be different. I'm not even really sure what I expected, but I think it was just a lot at the beginning. A lot of information as well, like thrown at you. Yeah.
Very good question. Also one that I need to think about. I guess part of maybe me not choosing for mathematics was my view of it as a very male-dominated study. And I was therefore pleasantly surprised, I guess. Oh, no, this is not what you... Wait, could you...
Yeah, the question was what did not meet your expectation.
Yes,
and actually it's true that it's male-dominated study, although this is changing.
It is changing. So I was surprised that there were many people like me. So female, not necessarily female, but who were very broadly interested instead of just mathematics, physics. The stereotypical nerd, in my opinion. Yeah, I guess meeting people more like me.
Marit?
Yeah. I have a similar answer to Anna, but it was when I started studying chemistry. So, when choosing a study, then often you're like really confronted with stereotypes, and you're also seeing like, at least I was thinking, do I see myself in this picture? Yes or no? And then at some point I even doubted, okay, do I want to do like a science study or maybe something else? And then I was like, okay, but I like this, and I think I'm a nice person to be around. So there will also probably be other people who are nice and who like to study this and are interested in this. And then I started studying, and I found out that indeed, yes, like everybody is very nice and very kind and very interested in this topic. And that you shouldn't be led on that much by the stereotype, like, oh, do I fit in here? Or will I be able to make friends at this study, yes or no? Because if you like it, then other people that you will like are also gonna like it. That was different when I started mathematics, because I already knew this. But yeah, it's along the same lines as what Anna said.
And was there something in mathematics that did not meet your expectations?
That it really builds up upon itself. So studying chemistry, everything was really put into different disciplines, and they were not really connected. Of course, there were some material that was used everywhere, but a lot of them did not involve other courses. And then you start studying mathematics, and then in your first year you have calculus, you have linear algebra. I'm still using linear algebra right now. And like a lot of other courses that I've taken use linear algebra, which are all over the field of mathematics. And that is something that really surprised me in a way, because I was not used to a science being so intertwined with itself, so to say. Yeah.
Thank you. I love this. That's why I like mathematics. That
Yeah,
it's
me too.
a big melting pot of things.
Can I add something else? I
Of
just
course.
thought of this.
Don't ask, just do.
Because I was thinking about this before this interview even, and it's the fact that before you start math, everything seems very difficult. I mean, all the courses, there's no way you're going to pass it. You think when you start, and then as you're climbing this hill, you get a better view, of course, but the view seems lovely and no hurdles in hindsight. So as you're climbing, you kind of forget how difficult it used to be or how difficult it was, and you only seem to remember your shortcomings right now and what you're doing wrong right now. So I think it was unexpected in this way, that I'm not feeling more knowledgeable in a sense, maybe less knowledgeable even. I feel like I know less than when I started. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually really agree with this, because I feel like with math is something that the more you know, the more you're like, oh, I actually don't know anything. Like it's so huge. It feels that, yeah, you climb like the ladder more, and then you know a lot, because at some point, you've been doing it for some years, so you know some stuff, but it feels like you know nothing, and there's like a lot more. It's sort of funny.
And also the thing that if you're struggling with something, that you are not understanding something, that as soon as it clicks for you, you're like, how did I not understand this? This is so logical, it just follows. And then it's very hard to imagine that you once did not understand it, that there was a point when you didn't know how this worked. Yeah, that's, for me at least, something that I have to keep in mind.
I love this climbing metaphors, and also the fact that the more you hike there, and the less you feel you understand. I mean, I can say it doesn't stop. Perhaps this is like an infinite mountains you have to climb, right? I don't know for you, but I fail to see the top.
Indeed, yeah.
I think for me that's what keeps me going. Of like, I just want to study more, because there's so much to know that I want to know all this stuff there is. Yeah.
And this reminds me something that one of our PhD students was saying the other day. We asked, so how is it going? How do you think it's going? And said, oh, no, it's okay. We have done a lot of stuff. I can see I've done this. And I'm more comfortable of dealing with uncertainty. And then he said, so perhaps this doesn't make me a good researcher. And then we looked at each other with the other supervisor and we said, no, that's exactly means that you're becoming a good researcher. You're getting used to the fact that you can't know everything, and you have to accept that you will not understand things and it will take time. That's perfect.
Yeah. But that's vastly different than studying mathematics, right? Because when you're studying, you know that at some point you will be able, like in theory, you should be able to understand a subject fully. And then doing research, I also experience that now, that there are just questions that you don't know how to answer. That's, I think that's funny to see the,
I think
not the similarities, but
it's something you have to grow into, I think, right? When you start, you're always given the questions that you know will have an answer, because it needs to be answered for the homework, for an assignment, for an exams. You study from the book, so things are written down. And I remember, at least when I started working on my bachelor project, before really trying to do things myself, I was looking for books where this would be studied, right? Because what you've done 3 years where you're used to look for this in books or papers. And then at some point you have to enter in the mindset it's about time that sometimes you just have to do things on your own, or sometimes, especially, well, that's still the case. If you take a graduate book, they give for granted so much stuff, so they say, oh, that's obviously this is the case. You move on, and then that obviously might take 3 days of work before you figure out why it's obvious. And as you said, once it's obvious, it's obvious. And good luck remembering why you didn't find it obvious. But it's a huge amount of work to resolve these easy steps, if you want to call them easy. I liked when when we write, it's easy to see, because usually it means it's a lot of work to figure out what is
As
going
a
on.
student, pain in the bleep. Yeah, no. I guess it's a real skill to be able to dial back and see, is this obvious? Where does it come from? Can I work it out if it's obvious? And then, yeah, that's one of the things I would admire about someone, if they would be able to do that.
Yeah. I also have a question, because part of the reason that we're doing this podcast is because Marcello noticed that a lot of students view their teachers or professors as people who know a lot of stuff, and they perceive them in a certain way. Let's put it that way. How do you guys perceive your teachers?
I think somewhere I still perceive them like they know a lot of stuff, because I know they know a lot more stuff than I do. So that means they know a lot, you know? I mean, realistically, I know they don't know everything. But I think somewhere in my mind, I'm like, oh, no, they must know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that make them intimidating or just as approachable as other people?
Depends on the professor, really. For me, it's like being intimidated by someone is not necessarily to do with their knowledge. I mean, I guess also, but more in the way they talk to people, the way they are. Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. What about you, Anna?
I would say that this has changed, of course, that my approach is very professional in the sense, well, I'm not sure if it's professional. I try to make it as professional as I can by not really looking at them like human beings. This might be a bit weird to say.
This is not what we're trying to do with the podcast.
Sorry, Marcello.
So,
I know you're a human being in my heart.
thanks.
But I approached them, I guess I approached them more as someone who knows a lot about mathematics. Probably not all, they just climbed the hill, if we go with this analogy, the hill a little bit further than me. But maybe as human, I shouldn't be taking these lessons from them. I should be listening to them because of their expertise and not because of anything else.
Oh, but that makes sense. I mean,
Yes.
this doesn't mean taking them for non-humans.
No. No, of course.
No, but I get your analogy.
Yeah, it's very hard to explain. It's very hard to explain.
That you're maybe it's more that you're trying to see them as for, like, they are human.
I guess
they are just, like...
I guess what I sometimes see, certainly with very good researchers that are lecturers, they almost have this idolized status from their students. Oh, this person is such a good researcher. They know everything. And I don't want to do that. I want to, of course, appreciate them for what they did for mathematics and for what a good lecturer they are, hopefully. But as a person, I don't know anything about them, so I'm very careful in this sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Good.
But let me reflect then back the question to you, Marit.
Yeah, I think at first, when I was a first-year student, I found professors and TAs also quite intimidating because, well, they know everything, they have a lot of experience, and it's very easy to feel intimidated by them. It was not that they were mean or unkind. It just felt that way for me. But then as the years progressed and I also got more secure in the place where I am, and I got to know more professors and TAs on a more personal level, you got to see the human side of them. And that really helped me to put everything in perspective, to see them as humans, that they're trying hard, that they have put a lot of effort and work into their knowledge that they have, but that it is not something that makes them different from me.
Yeah, and they also have the fallacies and the limitations. We also
Yeah,
have our fallacies.
yeah, everybody
and our
does.
limitations.
Yeah, but I think that is just something that comes with age and experiences, kind of. And it's good to hear other people's experiences in that case, because that also helps you to form your own image of people, I think.
I couldn't agree more with this. So you mentioned the word TA. So I don't know if you were TAs for some courses or not. I know, Naná, you were heading this first-year support groups.
I was being a mentor.
Yeah, mentoring.
So yeah.
Oh,
So
I've been
in
as well. Yeah, I've been a mentor as well. Yeah.
In these roles of mentor or TA, did you notice the student treating you differently?
Yeah, for me for sure, like I can also, I think, because as a mentor I was dealing with first year students, which is probably a difference from because it's the first is I was the first point of reference, their first sort of contact, and I've been doing this more than they have, so I think they thought I would know everything, sort of thing, or I know a lot more, or like they wouldn't really take me as a student as well. And I'm like, I'm very not different from you. Like maybe I'm like 2 years older or something, but that's it really. But I think for me, the case was that the difference between me and them was just because they were first years. I think if, like, I don't know if one is like a mentor for like a master's student or something. I don't know if that's the difference of like, they already know how university works and stuff, and then they also take you as a student and not as someone else. So I think in my case, it sort of made sense just because they were a bit scared of everything, of like knew everything.
No, but I can imagine if they have this reverential respect for you as the mentor, even though you're just 2 years older and another student, this might be like when it's the rapport between a first year students or any students and a professor, this must be like 100 times stronger, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess I'm very aware, I guess, of these kinds of things. And therefore I try to be as approachable as I can, and sometimes make mistakes, not on purpose, of course, but show that I make mistakes and that I was actually wrong in some cases, just to make them feel free to sometimes make a mistake.
Well, thanks. I was just curious to compare the two experiences because it felt like it's probably the same kind of dynamics, even though in a smaller scale. So I have another curiosity that we have asked many people already in the past. That is, what's your experience when you let other people know that you do mathematics, that you study mathematics?
Yeah, I think it's the classic of, oh, I could never do that. I was never good at it in high school. You must be so smart and all that kind of stuff, which I really hate, to be honest, because, yeah, I feel like it's also sort of not taking you seriously in a way, because it's like they tell you, oh, you're so smart. And it's like, no, I'm not smarter than you. I put a lot of effort into understanding the thing. And it just feels like they say that and they expect you to see something in math and, oh, I'm really smart and I understand it immediately, when that's really not the case. So it's a bit annoying sometimes, I think.
Also really, how do you say that? Underestimates the time and effort, as you said, that you put into your work. Like you didn't manage to get to the end of your bachelor phase by just being smart. Like you put a lot of time and effort in there. And I think that is what people sometimes feel, that inherently you're good at mathematics and then you will be able to do a bachelor degree, or you're not. And then then mathematics is just not for those people. And studying mathematics is hard work. And that's sometimes when people react that way, I feel that is sometimes undervalued a bit.
And I think like studying math is not something that you do it because you're good at it. You do it because you like it. So anyone who likes it can do it.
I would go a step further and say that this is the same for everything you study. I don't think that studying chemistry or biology, engineering, philosophy, history, whatever you want to put there, I think it's going to take the similar amount of effort and a similar amount of drive from your side to keep up with this effort.
Yeah, I guess the reactions can differ. When my one of my brothers studies something within environmental sciences, and I guess it's a lot more concrete to tell what he's working on than when I'm coming to my parents with my bachelor thesis. No way they're trying to read it. No way.
No, that's true. That's also one of the challenges we have in trying to communicate mathematics and talk about mathematics outside mathematics, right? You said it's very easy to sit at a table and start doing weird jokes about mathematics that only mathematicians understand.
Yes.
But I think it's also important that we, and this is a collective, we try to see how can we actually talk about mathematics with non-mathematicians and bring out some of why we find beauty in it, where this beauty lies, why we find it interesting, even when it's not applicable to something. And I think it's very hard. I think it's very hard for us because we've not been trained to do this. I hope that if we are able to push it a bit on the students, then for you that you're still closer to reality, it might be a bit easier to try and pass this message.
I have to say that it also depends on the person you're talking to. I have had people who did not have a mathematical background who were very interested in learning what I'm doing. And then I'm trying to explain it to them in a way that is understandable for people who have had high school mathematics, for instance. And like not everybody, but there are quite some people who are thinking like, oh, this is really cool what you're doing. And this sounds very interesting. So it also depends, I believe, on the person who you're having a conversation with.
Yeah, that's for sure. I agree.
It's not all negative and
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, for example, my mom is very interested in what I'm doing, and she also only has like high school mathematics, and that was some time ago as well. But I think it's really good practice for me to try to explain to her what I'm doing in like the most simple words. Like, it's very hard, but it's not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and some people are just very interested, and then other people, then you kind of tell them what you do, and they don't really care.
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a shame, but no, there is a lot of people who actually, if you explain it well, then they like it.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think this is a very good point. I think the problem is not really finding the right audience. We know that the audience is there, people that are interested in dialogue over what you do and why and so on. But I think where we are lacking is really in learning how to simplify it in such a way that you can talk about what you're doing. Sometimes remembering that you have built up a lot of layers of understanding and of jargon while you were climbing that mountain. I really like this metaphor. It could go on for the rest of the episode. Right? And then you're there, you think you've simplified that. Even in class, actually, when I teach something, I think I've simplified it enough so that it's approachable to the students. But then very often I realized that I was giving so much for granted. I gave a talk to the prospective students, and at some point at the end of the talk, somebody pointed out that I don't remember if it was the length of a curve that I didn't define. I didn't define something that I was giving absolutely for granted, but without defining it, I could have meant 10 different things with my talk.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, whenever I'm trying to explain, I find the wildest analogies for example, an open ball or closed ball. What is open and closed even? Where do you start? Yeah, you have to find some real life examples too.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to oversimplify, and so that is,
of course.
For me, one of the struggles, especially at the beginning, was accepting the fact that they cannot be precise. And my curiosity was, as a student, do you have these same struggles? Because I don't remember how it was for me when I was a student, even a PhD student.
Yes, it all depends on the audience, I guess. Yes. So with parents, of course, I can't be as precise because there's too many things to keep track of in a conversation. I mean, on paper, you can add a lot of detail to your picture if you're talking about it.
Yeah, I was thinking because my parents unfortunately can't be at my thesis presentation.
Oh, yeah.
So I was thinking to do a presentation for them where I can try to explain to them like the gist of what I'm doing and maybe get a little bit mathematical with them. Because I would like to tell them what I've been doing for the past year.
Of course.
And I also think that they would really like to see what I've been doing. But I think there will be a struggle to see how I can simplify it in a way that they can understand it and that I do not take, as you said, some information for granted. Yeah, so I'll see how that goes. But it seems like a fun challenge.
Yeah, it's really thoughtful. I am really curious to hear how it went. I mean, good idea. And getting back to this one, you both like drawing and painting. And I think that's an actual way that there's lots of opportunities to actually express mathematics in a visual way that doesn't require numbers or explaining the concept in words. And so have you ever tried using your drawing or your art to try and make sense of some mathematics or make some other people make sense of some mathematics?
I really want to. It's like in the back of my head, I want to try, but I think it's really hard. Like I have this idea of like I want to paint something that looks like how I imagine some like structures in mathematics, but I can see it really clearly in my head. But when I actually like sit down with a paper in front of me and I try to do it, I sort of have no idea how to do it. Because it's like for me, the way I see math is like the more you know, the more layers you add. It's like a picture of a lot of like layers and textures. And that's also very complicated to draw, I think. I don't know if you see it the same way, but...
Yes. Of course, topology for me is just one great picture. We talked about open and closed. I already have pictures in my head of what it should look like, and this gives a great intuition. Of course, that's all 3D. I mean, it's very limited. And then if you go back to paper, it's 2D all of a sudden. So, oh no, I haven't tried it. I think losing detail would cause me a lot of frustration when I'm trying to do this. You have to be very precise about it. Yeah, I think. I'm not sure.
No. Well, one of the episodes we had in mind for next year, and actually maybe this is a good point to let our audience know that, Marit is finishing her thesis very soon. And as much as I would like to keep recording the next series with her, because we had very nice experience, at least for me, she has to go on her own path. And so we asked Anna, actually, if she wanted to keep going.
Thank you so
us.
much, yes. Yeah. Yes. Oh, I would love to, by the way. But yeah.
And so this is a good point to introduce our new host for the next season, even though the season is not completely finished yet.
Yeah, I think it will do very well.
Oh, thank you so much. That's very nice to hear.
I'm sure about that.
Gives me some confidence to start the new season. Yeah.
Well, you have started, right?
Oh, that's true. I'm already. Are we recording?
You've been here for 58 minutes already.
We're recording already. Oh, shoot. Yeah. Okay.
And one of the episodes we had in mind to do this year, but then for scheduling reason actually didn't happen, is actually an episode on using illustrations to explain mathematics with two people that are actually doing this. And so I really hope we can manage to have them here next year to talk with them about using actually that's fun, like they use illustration to disseminate mathematics, but then we're going to talk about it, not showing it.
Oh yeah, that's a weird tunnel of information through painting and then through podcasts and then
yeah. But it sounds really interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it's really cool.
So if you have questions or ideas, you're going to be there anyway, Anna. But if you have questions or ideas for this episode, we are all here.
Do you already know who the guests will be?
Yes, but we'll keep it a secret. Yes. I will tell you once we stop recording.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So keep listening, folks.
So I would like to, I don't know, go back or have a new topic. But so I once filled in a questionnaire for like, how do you experience your study? And it asked me, do you feel a part of the academic community? And I was really, like right now, I feel kind of part of it. I know a lot of people. I know some PhD students. I have a lot of people to say hi to when I walk down the corridor. But like in my second year or third year even, I did not really feel that way. How do you guys feel about that?
For me, it depends what I'm working on. So the moment I'm working on, if I'm studying for an exam, then I don't feel part. I feel part of the student community, I guess, because then I feel like there's this separation between the person teaching the course and me studying for the exam for that course. When I work on projects, then I feel a lot closer to the academic community, I guess, because then, I'm doing some research, I'm looking up stuff myself, and then it feels a lot closer.
Yeah, more academic-like.
Yeah, and I also think I like that more because, I'm very against doing exams because, I stress very easily and I'm really bad at doing exams.
Same.
But I love working on projects, and I also feel like I learn so much more because I have to look the stuff myself, and I have to remember it for sure. And I need to do more myself, and I really like that.
Yeah.
So I think it really depends on the situation.
Yeah. Interesting to hear. Yeah. What about you, Anna?
Yeah, many similarities, by the way. There's such a layeredness. I mean, you have all these layers, right? Professor, assistant professor, postdoc. Well, you know it better than me, so I shouldn't list this. So I guess feeling a part of it, it's again a gradient. At times, yes. At times, no.
But what do you mean by academic community? Just
Yes, exactly. Maybe that's.
I think
a good
it's
question.
a very vague concept. Yeah, I just took this from like a questionnaire. I was also
Yeah,
really weirded out by the question, so I was like, oh, I might just ask. But I think that you're like, I don't know, like feel like you're doing academic stuff somehow, or like feeling a part of the people who are doing the academic part of mathematics. And I think that what Nana said, like if you're doing projects and like not just studying for exams, that is more related to like the academic kind of work. Yeah. So
but studying and going through your studies is part of academic work, I would say, right?
yeah.
So from that
Yeah.
point of view, you are the moment you feel closer to the student community, the student community is part of the academic community, I would say. I think depends a lot of what we mean by that, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Of course, maybe the distinction can be two ways. Either you are contributing, you feel you contribute with your projects to the knowledge in mathematical sense. But when you're doing courses, of course, you're exploring already explored terrain. It's just new for you, so you don't feel you contribute anything. And then in the other sense, you're in contact with professors, PhDs, postdocs, more when you're doing projects than when you're taking courses. Yeah, maybe that
Yeah, it makes
explains it.
sense. No, from this point of view, I understand it perfectly. It was just, I was confused by the definition itself of what we think is an academic community.
I don't think that there's a clear definition. But of course, as mathematicians, we're trying to find the definition.
Yeah, fair enough. That's probably something that comes with the way we are used to think.
Yeah. No, I was just, I don't know, just wondering. And another question that I had was if you could go back to like the beginning of your studies, is there anything you would tell yourself, like, maybe don't stress too much for exams, or maybe, I don't know,
The thing is, I could tell it myself, but if I would listen, that would be much better.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell it myself, but I also need to listen.
Yeah, for me, I guess learning about efficient ways of studying, but I need to go through the inefficient ones in order to learn the efficient ones. So it doesn't really make sense. And I wouldn't know the other ones are inefficient unless I went through them.
Yeah.
But I think something is that I realize is very important for me. It's to take some time off. Sometimes, like have one day a week where I don't do math. I do whatever, something else. And I think in my first year, I was, trying to do everything at the same time, and it was a bit chaotic. And I didn't do that. Also the same in my second year. And like the last 2 years, instead, I've been doing that. And that is so much more effective because you can't be doing the same thing all the time. And you need some perspective to be able to be better at it as well.
Yeah.
So definitely that.
Thank you. This is great, actually. I thought about this and I agree. Like, this is also what I would tell myself. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Even for your masters, it still works for your masters. So people keep it up.
Yeah.
Making friends, of course. Also, often I felt doubtful whether I could take on a certain challenge or a certain course that I thought very difficult. And just try and you'll get very far, I promise. Maybe you don't get the result that you wanted, but you'll get very far. So, yeah.
Yeah. Very good advice, guys.
Yeah. If I may add, one thing that I noticed for myself was do not assume that your plan will work, and do not worry if it doesn't.
Yes.
Like, and do not worry when it doesn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe also more in detail, I feel much worse when I didn't write any a very simplistic thought down on my homework that turned out to be true than if I am very careful not to make mistakes on my homework. And maybe I get a better grade, but I didn't write down what I thought, and so I couldn't prove that I actually new and test my ideas.
Yeah.
So always write down what you think, even if it might be wrong on your homework. Yeah.
And on your exams.
And on
also.
your well, of course, I understand that sometimes you need to pass a course in order to keep studying. So yeah. Depends.
Well, if you allowed yourself to make mistake during the course, most likely you will pass the exam.
Exactly. That's what I'm going for. Yeah.
So on a very different note, since we are on about 1 hour of recordings, now we have the opportunity to ask you, as far as I understand, you have listened to previous episodes of the podcast. And so we would like to ask you what would you like to hear in the future episodes?
For me, I think, and I think I can speak for a lot of people, is we have, like, for example, for the people who think they want to keep on doing a career like in academia or something, we are very curious about what does your life look like? What does a day look like as a professor, for example, or as a PhD student? Like, what is that? Because I feel like we also take, I mean, at least for myself, I take, teachers or whatever as, sort of role models in a way. Because I'm like, if I'm going to be doing that job eventually in the future, I mean, I want to do what they're doing. So, I'm curious about them. So definitely that. And another thing for me is also what career opportunities do you have in math that aren't academia? Because we don't really know, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, I guess adding on to this, which was my original point, so it's very nice. Inviting people that did mathematics for their studies and now work a different job outside of academia. It's not often talked about. It's not very apparent where you could go after your studies. And I think a lot of people want to know. A lot of students, I should clarify. And PhD students, yes.
Well, good
Thank
news.
you both very much, because that's exactly what we were hoping. That's actually what we were thinking for this year, but then it's we didn't have enough time. Was exactly looking at the aftermath, so what happens after. And in fact, the next episode we are going to interview PhD students, so a bit of this question will start getting addressed next month. And if all is well, we will interview 2 emeritus professors to check how things have evolved over the year. And then next year we can talk about what it's like to do a career in mathematics, what it's like to do mathematics outside mathematics in other departments, for example, and what it's like to use mathematics outside in your work. So what kind of works you can go and do. And there are so many that we will not be able to cover them all, but at least we can give a glimpse of what people are doing after they have studied mathematics. So sounds like this was a good idea, and we have a lot to think about.
The audience
Anna for
agrees.
next.
Hopefully.
Very glad.
Yeah. No, thanks for your input. So I'm also wondering, Anna and Naná, while we have you guys here, do you have any particular questions you would like to have answered by PhD students or emeritus professors?
Yes, so pursuing a career in academia, I was wondering, what were some of the sacrifices, I guess, you should make or have to make or made before pursuing this career, whether it was for a PhD, for postdoc, or for any other part of your career?
Interesting question.
Well,
Yes.
I love this question.
Yeah.
Because I'm aware it takes a lot of time and a lot of, I guess, perseverance to do these jobs. It
not
seems
easy.
incredibly difficult to me.
I think like most jobs, you will have to make choices, and it depends on your priorities. But I think that's a great question to ask them.
Yeah.
Also
I
with
agree.
kids, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
They will probably have a lot of experience with this, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Actually, I think related to what you said, another thing I wonder is, like, how can you balance a life of going, like, having a 9-to-5 job or whatever, something similar, like in academia, and then at the same time, I don't really know how to explain it, but having like a different life on your own, like
A
at
private
home.
life.
A private life, yeah, I think so, because like how I see it is sometimes, I like the idea of just working and just doing math all day because it's so cool. I love it. And then on the other side is like, in the world we live in, sometimes I just want to have like a vegetable garden and like go, live in a farm and have chickens and that kind of stuff. And I don't really see these two things as working together because of the circumstances of, I don't see the things working together. So I wonder if anyone ever did it, and if that could potentially work.
Can I try to rephrase your question to see if I understood? So you're saying doing research is an activity that somehow you bring your mind all over the day, because even when you stop thinking about it, you don't really stop about thinking about this. And then it seems hard that you can find the time. And also, it's kind of known that in the academic career, you're not just doing research, but you're also doing teaching, and perhaps you're doing a lot of teaching, and you're doing administration, and you're doing outreach, and you have conference and seminar, and then we can go on for a while. And so it feels like you have an overwhelming amount of stuff to do, and you have somehow ideas that you're carrying with you also outside the 9 to 5 office hours, and then how you manage to balance your life with this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a very interesting question also to ask.
Yeah.
Let me comfort you. I think it's possible to balance it. I think we have been bad perhaps in showing that it's possible and in doing it, but I think it's possible. But I'm really curious to hear what they have to say about this.
Yeah.
It would be great for inclusivity if this is possible. Indeed, if you can balance it more, that you have also the time for outside things as a professor, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the more you go older, the more your life will force you to find this time no matter what. But if you learn to do it early, like you said, take one day off, the earlier you learn this, the easier it is to keep doing it.
So could I ask you a question? Because the podcast is, as I know, successful. Can I conclude? You've been doing this for 7 episodes, 8 episodes?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is the 8th.
8th. Are there some things that you learned along the way that you didn't know or didn't expect to learn from the podcast?
I think that for me, so of course I'm a mathematician, and I know that people who study or like do mathematics as a career are humans and they are nice. But I've been able to speak to so many professors here at the Institute that it really has shown me that they're just normal people. Okay, this sounds really cliche, but I always felt a bit of a distance to people that I have not been able to talk to. Like I know some professors that I did like my bachelor thesis with, or that I somehow knew, that I did the TA job for instance, that there are people and then you accept their human side. But for the people that you do not talk to, I still had the feeling like, okay, they are a bit more distant. And I do feel that doing this podcast, and I hope for other people listening to these episodes, it shows that every person is kind and nice and approachable and is very enthusiastic about mathematics and willing to help people if they have a problem or a question. And that is something that, maybe it's bad that it's that this podcast was needed for me to internalize this. But now, even if there is like a professor somewhere that I do not know, I do feel that I think differently about them having done this podcast than if I had not done this podcast. If
that's so nice.
It's a little bit of a clear answer.
I think it's really close. Well, it's of course personal to my listening experience. It's very nice to see the 3D picture of the human behind the professor. Yeah.
And also that everybody has a different experience. That not everybody is following the same path, and that is the path that you have to follow. But that there are a lot of different options and ways to get to a certain place. And I really love that, hearing those experiences.
Yeah, I can fully second that. Like, I was expecting difference of experience. I was expecting different people also, because I knew some of the colleagues, although I didn't know them as well. Like, I've learned so much about them by talking to them in here, even though it feels weird, right? We're talking in front of microphones on a artificial setting, and somehow we can learn so much about each other. But how wildly different were the paths and the interests and the motivations of everybody. I think this exceeded by far what I was expecting.
Yes, because you knew they were humans, of course. You knew. No, I'm just joking.
No, it's true. I'm on this other side of the table,
yes.
So I struggle to not see myself as human. And so that was clear. That was the point of the podcast. But I really like that. It's really there is really a huge variety of people. Everybody is here. We are all diverse, and so we shouldn't feel that our path or our background is what decides if we get here or not.
Yeah, nicely put. Yeah.
Thanks.
And Nana, you have listened to some episodes. Do you also recognize this, or do you have a different take or something that you take away from these episodes?
No, I think actually it's quite similar.
Oh,
It's, yeah, some professors I knew a bit more, others I didn't even know them. Yeah, and I think I just learned a lot about everyone. And yeah, that they just normal people, like not like in a good way, you know, like everyone's just like a human. And yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, seems like we're doing a good job then, Marcello.
Yeah, it's very good to hear. Right?
It's working.
Yeah.
Just a big cuddle of our egos, I guess.
Yeah.
No, but I'm very happy. I mean, the idea of this was to reach out to students and people interested in mathematics and just show them aspects that are more hidden when you leave it as a student. So it's nice to hear that this has broken the barrier a bit and it helped at least a few people.
Yeah, makes me really happy. I have one last question for you guys,
Ooh.
Anna and Nana.
Yeah.
So you guys are students now. Do you have any aspirations or any goals in your mathematical career? Like whether that is pursuing a master's or a PhD or doing something totally else whatsoever. Nana, what about you?
Yeah, I want to do a master's. But then about a PhD, I'm not sure because I don't really know what it is. I think that's my issue.
Makes sense. Yeah.
I like the idea of it. I think for me, it's like I can't really imagine the idea of one day just being like, okay, I'm done with studying math. Let me not know more about it. I don't think that could possibly work because I just want to know more. But I also want to have a sort of relaxed life, and I want to, what I said before, sort of, I want to say if it's compatible and yeah.
Well, we will find out next episode.
Yeah,
I think.
I guess I'll decide next episode. I don't know.
Yeah, but like you're not totally off to the idea of doing a PhD and...
No, I mean, I think I want to, but yeah, I'm not 100% sure yet.
Makes sense.
But that's fair enough, right? You're finishing your bachelor. You have plenty of time to change your mind over and over again, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't have that much time anymore. No, so I'm doing the internship, and then this is kind of also a way for me to see if I like working at TNO or maybe at a company or maybe doing a PhD. Probably a PhD, maybe on a later, in a later stage of life, which is hard, of course, but it's possible, I guess. And weirdly enough, the thing that keeps me away from certainly doing a PhD is also the way that brought me into mathematics, which is this broad interest in all different things. And I want to pursue so many different things in life that I can't see myself dedicating all my time to one aspect of it.
Make perfect sense.
Yeah.
Marit, you're finishing much sooner than them. Did you make up your mind? Do you have an idea?
Yes. I had a lot of doubt whether I wanted to pursue a PhD or not. In the end, I decided not to. I don't know whether I would even have gotten a position somewhere, but yeah, that's a whole other matter. But I have been at university for 8 years now, and I think it would be nice to have a change of atmosphere to see whether I like working for a company or the government or something like that. So I've decided to not pursue a PhD for now. But similar to what Nana said, I do not see myself not like doing mathematics. So I've actually been thinking like, I might just buy some books and just learn through them or
Keep
like
learning,
yeah, exactly. Like there's so much mathematics that I just do not know. Like maybe some like more differential geometry stuff, or I don't know, maybe more applied mathematics. That's something like in mathematics really interests me, and I think that it will always remain kind of a hobby, so to say. But for now I'm not pursuing a career in mathematics now.
But do you have an idea of the kind of work you want to do afterward? Because like there are many words that would allow you still to use the mathematics if you want, right?
Yeah, definitely. I've actually already found a job.
Oh,
Starting
good.
September. Yeah. It's at the Dutch railways, so the Nederlandse spoorwegen. And I'll be working as a trainee there. So working on the plan is to work on a project that implements the software that manages the planning of the
Schedules.
the schedules of the machinisten en
Train
conducteuren.
yeah. Conductors and
Conductors?
Yeah, and
Train
machinist, I think.
machinists. Yeah.
Machinist.
Yeah?
I think so. I think it's mostly
so,
identical.
okay, so machinists and conductors, which sounds like a fake translation, but yeah, apparently it's true. So I'm really looking forward to that, to see how, like, there's a lot of personal development options there. I'm really enthusiastic about public transport, so I'm really happy to be able to dedicate my job to that for now. And then after 2 years, I can see, like, make up the balance. Did I like it or not? Do I still want to pursue a PhD or not?
So people remember, if your train has departure or a late departure, you know who to call. No, just joking. Don't do that.
Yeah.
But that sounds really nice and fascinating.
Yeah, I'm really interested.
And
really enthusiastic to start. Yeah.
Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Let me close with an anecdote. I know 2 important professors in Germany, one of which was my former supervisor, which actually did work for the train company there, doing the same type of job before
Nice.
becoming professors.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So on this note, I think it's time to close the episode. I want to renew our thanks for joining us. I really enjoyed this conversation. I think I like that we explored a lot the neighborhoods of being students and how you experienced being students here. I'm very happy that we could introduce our new co-host for next year's season.
Likewise.
And thank you everybody also for listening. Do you want to add anything? I'm talking to everybody in the room.
Thank you for inviting us.
Yes.
Thank you to our guests and to Marcello.
And if you like the episode, don't forget to share it on the social network and send it to your friends. And let's meet next time. If you like this episode, please consider sharing it with your friends and on your social media accounts.